Yeah,
Oh,
you have done it.
oh, okay,
Yeah.
here we go. मैं पाकिस्तान से प्याज करता
Assalamu alaikum and hello. This is Allah Ditta and I welcome you guys in another brand new episode of Women Show and you are watching us on Zero Filter में उम्मीद करता हूँ आप सब ठीक होंगे मज़े में होंगे. So guys, today's episode is going to be an amazing experience for all of you because today we will unfold the covers from world politics, what's happening in world politics. Many of us knows, but why this is happening no one knows. So जनाब इसी पर बात करने के लिए आज हमारे साथ मौजूद होंगे फेमस अमेरिकन एनालिस्ट मिस्टर कॉनर डेविडसन who is connecting to us all the way from beautiful country Uganda. So let's welcome Mr. Connor Davidson. Hey Mr. Connor, how are you? Thanks for being with us.
Walaikum salam.
Okay, wow. So Mr. Connor Davidson, how are you?
I'm great. Yes, here in Uganda, it is raining, so it's going to sometimes the internet cuts out a little. But yeah.
So Mr. Davidson, first of all, let us know why the relations of India are becoming worse day by day with Pakistan, China, as well as in the rest of the world, including Nepal.
Yeah, so I think it's interesting. It's really sort of a collection of different geopolitical forces, because it's not just the standard India versus Pakistan standoff that we saw with Kashmir, or the escalation between the two countries. I think there's more elements here that are making this more of an economic and geopolitical war than simply a cultural war between India and Pakistan. I think it's getting kind of muddied a little bit as to which side each party is on. I would say that there's a significant degree of risk when you're involving not just one nuclear power, but two and three. Unfortunately, Nepal's sort of stuck in the middle of that whole thing. Like, imagine being how awkward that is to be Nepal right now. Like, you have three countries with nuclear warheads, and it's like, all right, man. Well, I guess we're just gonna take the most neutral stance we possibly can.
So that's why I just asked you because Nepal is not that so big.
Yeah, it is.
Okay,
It acts as a key.
Yeah. So recently we saw very extreme protests in US and then also in other countries. So what is your opinion on the protests?
Sort of a good question. It's one of those things where it's one of those events that happens that has this sort of sporadic sense to it. But I think the underlying forces that have created this sort of rise of Black Lives Matter to the front stage of everything are sort of a culmination of a bunch of different factors. One of which is obviously Corona, but I think there's for a long time now been a significant unrest for those in the African American community, for minorities. But I think generally people are sort of restless and pissed off, and I think it has more to do with economic inequality rather than to do with Black Lives Matter. I mean, they've been around for a while.
Yeah, so don't you think so those protests were more political than for a cause?
Yeah, for sure. I mean, there's definitely like an element of either foreign governments, fanning the flames of conflict inside. But I still think that there's issues inside of the systemic way that government sort of governs inside of the United States, and the way that they pass legislation and oversee other government bodies. I think those procedures, the way that that sort of deliberative process, oversight process occurs, is fundamentally flawed at some level. Maybe even it's just a small, banal change, but I think that's a problem that is driving up the layers built on tent.
South Asia, the region where I live, there's a general perception that on the killing of one innocent American civilian, the whole world stand up and speak against its cruelty. But while in Kashmir, many very innocent people are being killed every day. So why the world is so silent? Why they don't speak up on this issue? So what is this happening?
You know, actually, the world is pretty silent on a lot of conflicts, right? Like, when was the last time you heard about the Congo, right? I mean, there's ISIS in Congo. There's all sorts of crazy conflicts happening in the Congo right now. In Mozambique, it's crazy. There's armed conflict. The government had to bring in Wagner, a private military company, in order to stabilize, and they got kicked out. They were losing so bad that the government then said, all right, well, we're going to try another one. You know, like, there's these armed conflicts all over the place that are popping up, and no one seems to care. And I don't think, historically speaking, many people do. But the difference now is that now there's nuclear weapons involved, right? So now you have an armed escalation, not just between India and Pakistan, but now you have China involved.
Another thing, use of weapons in every region of the world. What is your opinion on this?
On the the what?
Weapons.
Oh, so when you say that, are you referring to nuclear warheads, correct?
Yeah, maybe.
So armed race, so the escalation of the production of weapons and like hypersonic missiles, nuclear warheads, any sort of ICBM systems. Yeah, no, I think it's scary. And I think it's not just terrifying for the India-Pakistan Chinese conflict, but I think, you know, even if you look at Russia and China, right? Russia in 2014, 2015 had nuclear-tipped missiles pointed at China. And they were pretty close. You don't see these little tiny conflicts, these fissures. It's so easy for these conflicts to escalate. Imagine if one petty person self-destructive person were to get control of a country or influence a leader of a country to such an extent and be able to fabricate evidence to such an extent.
Mr. Davidson, what is... Yeah, please continue.
Look, I think a lot of this stems from a really interesting quote that Kennedy said back in '63. JFK, the president of the United States at the time, during the war between the Cold War between Khrushchev and the United States. So the USSR was shipping nuclear-tipped missiles.
So, what's your opinion on Israel and Palestine conflict?
Okay. Yeah, I mean, again, I think a lot of this has to do with an issue I was going to talk about with JFK. JFK talks about this idea of transparency, that like the more transparent something is in a government sphere, the more dangerous it is. He says that it's the most dangerous idea that humanity has ever played with. And the reason he said that is because he didn't, the American side was pushing him towards war. And for Khrushchev, the USSR was pushing him to war as well. And even if he knew, and he finally realized what happened, which was that we had accidentally left nuclear-tipped ICBM systems in Turkey, and we had them pointed at Russia, and we didn't even know our own program. So that was an issue there. But as soon as he found that out, he realized he couldn't even back down, right? And same with Modi, same with any sort of president who's in this sort of like big conflict.
You're right.
Like, once they realize they messed up, they can't do anything. They're like, oh crap,
really
I have to. Like,
That's really sad.
Yeah, it's really yeah. Go ahead.
So, as you are living in Uganda right now, you are in Africa. So let us know what's the situation of COVID-19 there in Africa, because we are seeing that the number of cases are very low in Africa, while the population is so huge. Are they testing enough?
I think Uganda is doing an amazing job. They have 0 deaths so far. Out of 40 million people, they have 0 deaths, and I think they only have 41 active cases. I think the Museveni's role, the president of Uganda, his ability to take on this issue has been unparalleled. And they're doing aggressive testing too. It's not like they're not testing. Could tests be cheaper to make it more available to the public? For sure. But it's not entirely guaranteed that would indicate better data, or that data wouldn't be skewed in some way. So I think the president is doing an awesome job, and it's one approach, and then other approaches are to completely not have lockdowns and let it take its.
Okay. And the rest of Africa in other countries?
Well, yeah. So leading into what I was saying, Tanzania is a different country, and Tanzania also has a different approach. And I don't think either one is wrong. I think it depends on the people, and their government and what they want. Yeah, Magufuli is also doing a great job. He's bolstering trade. You know, you have to balance economics with the health of the people. So it's one of those things. Yeah.
Thank you so much, Mr. Davidson, for being with us. It was really nice talking to you. Thank you so much for letting us know much about Africa, Asia, and every Pacific. Thank you so much for being with us. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Likewise, man. Thank you. Appreciate it.
Thank you so much. उम्मीद है नाज़रीन को आज की एपिसोड बहुत अच्छी लगी होगी। अगर आपको आज की एपिसोड अच्छी लगी है तो वीडियो को शेयर कीजिए, चैनल को सब्सक्राइब